This is probably the creepiest thing that's ever happened to me. I still don't like to talk about it, even to family. I still experience a lot of anxiety, shame, and guilt whenever I think about it, but it feels oddly therapeutic to type it out anonymously. I'm a 24-year-old female. At the time this happened, I had just graduated college and had bad anxiety. I was very shy and had a hard time standing up for myself. I have epilepsy too, which is relevant and maybe makes this story a bit unusual, in my opinion. I was broke, so I had to get a job in a warehouse. I got along with my coworkers, and the work wasn't too hard, and the warehouse was near my apartment, which is good because I can't drive. There was this guy, Glenn, who was in his mid-50s. He seemed like a pretty normal, all-around nice guy. He was very popular and very friendly to everyone. Looking back, he seemed unusually eager to talk to me, but I chalked it up to him just being friendly because I was new. Glenn kept offering to give me rides, which I politely declined. The walk to work wasn't bad, but when winter came around, I finally caved in one day and started accepting them. I'd worked with Glenn for almost 5 months, and I felt that I could trust him. He was friends with everyone, and seemed like such a normal guy. I know this was a little dumb on my part, but what can I say? I was naive. At first, everything was fine, but I started getting weird vibes. He would bring me candy to work and insist that I would have some, but refuse to offer it to anyone else. Small stuff, but still odd. I was beginning to think this guy was pretty weird. I had once told him that I liked Green Day, don't judge me, and when one of their songs came on in the warehouse, he asked me, "Hey, I know you like Green Day. Do you control the radio?" I thought this was weird, but I laughed it off as a joke. Who could believe that, right? Then he started bringing me pieces of cake. I accepted them politely every day, but we had different lunch shifts, so I threw them in the trash without him knowing. Alarm bells were definitely starting to go off. I still wish I'd listened to them. If I had just given him the cold shoulder, maybe it would have ended there. I wish I would have just told him to fuck off, but I didn't. I didn't want to hurt his feelings, and I didn't want to look like a bitch in front of my coworkers. I didn't want anyone to know, and again I had no social skills. I had a lot of trouble standing up for myself. Then, there were some serious red flags. He started sending me creepy text messages on the weekends like, "I miss you. 22 hours and 10 seconds and I'll be relieved of this awful pain." Then one day, I saw his truck parked in the lot behind my apartment. I know it was his because of his bumper stickers. Whenever I opened the door, the truck would speed away, but it came back several times. That was it. I gathered my courage and I told him I didn't want any more rides and wasn't interested in him. I felt proud of myself and thought surely that would be the end of it. I was wrong. As I said before, I have epilepsy. It's quite embarrassing to talk about, but it's pretty well controlled, and for the most part I manage to live a fairly normal life. I don't have seizures too often, usually a couple a year, but I usually prefer to have at least one person around who is aware of them and knows what to do. I told one of my coworkers, not Glenn, about my symptoms. Somehow this information got back to Glenn. He started talking to me one day and somehow knew everything. I lose consciousness and go into convulsions. When I wake up, I'm usually really weak and exhausted and very, very confused. I'll have several minutes of amnesia. Maybe my coworker blabbed or something. Who knows? So of course, I had a seizure at work. The next half hour was a blur. I remember some things, but not a whole lot. I was too tired to walk home, and too out of it to call my mom for a ride, so who should volunteer but Glenn? I remember thinking, fuck, I'll be alone with Glenn. I can't fight back, and I might not remember anything that happens. I wasn't coherent enough to voice my thoughts though, or protest much. My coworkers didn't object either. I kind of remember the car ride in flashes, then Glenn standing outside the doorway of my apartment and mentioning the stains in my living room carpet where I'd once spilled some wine, and offering to steam clean them for me. I muttered something, and then shut the door, and I remember locking it. I'm sure of it. I was relieved. I was pretty sure he hadn't made it past the doorway. I assumed, based on my past experiences, that anyone in their right mind would find an epileptic seizure pretty damn unattractive, maybe even scare him away. I was sure that if Glenn came into my apartment or took advantage of me in some way, I would have remembered it too. Things got even weirder for me from there. The next day he asked me if he could write down what had happened, to remember it better, and again I saw his truck parked behind my apartment. He got out and started pacing erratically. Before I knew it, he was just shamelessly peering through my bushes and trees. He knew which balcony window was mine, and he looked right at me. He didn't even care that I could see him. He spent about an hour going from trying to look into my balcony window back to pacing. For the next couple of days, he kept coming back and just pacing rapidly. He'd walk between the same two light poles in the same path while staring intently at the ground, again and again and again, for hours, obviously in some other world. I was beginning to freak out. I didn't know what to do, so I called my mom, and she in turn called the police. They said that they would go to his house and give him a warning. I told them not to contact the warehouse, still not wanting Glenn to lose his job, but they called anyways, probably my mom's doing, and Glenn got fired. I was relieved in the end. I thought it was finally over. Again, I was wrong. Then shit started to get weirder. He showed up at my apartment a few times, then he started to leave gifts at my front door. Probably the most unsettling was when I found some flowers and a sympathy card on my 6th anniversary of my dad's death. I had never even told him that my father died, but somehow he knew the exact date and year, and judging from the card, he knew every last detail of how it happened. I still have no idea how he got that information. So finally, after ignoring him for several weeks, things started to die down. I was beginning to move on when I got a voicemail from Glenn, which turned out to be his wife since apparently they shared a phone. She said that she wanted closure and needed to know what happened. I was reluctant. I thought she might blame me, and I just wanted to move on and forget about this. But something about her voice changed my mind. I swear I've never heard so much anguish in my life. I felt sorry for her and agreed. I told her the whole story and assured her that nothing happened between us and that Glenn started the whole thing and persisted even after I told him to stop. She was sympathetic to me and started telling me what's been happening with Glenn. Just when I thought things couldn't possibly get any more fucked up, she tells me that she first noticed Glenn stalking my Facebook page as well as my entire family's pages. Then she decided to monitor his search history and said that he started talking to the search bars in Google, Facebook, and YouTube. What he typed was extremely specific and conversational, like he was responding to another human being based on what searches brought up. Worse yet, he thought that I, personally, was using the search bars to communicate with him. He talked obsessively about how he was going to steam clean my living room carpet someday, and apparently he's told her repeatedly that he's in love with me and that I love him back. She said that he even got a tattoo of our initials and added me to his will. I wish I were kidding about that, but I'm not. He still absolutely insists that he's been in my apartment. Maybe he broke in. Maybe he came in after my seizure and I don't remember it. Even more unsettling, he asked YouTube, "Is Clara having my baby?" That gave me chills. It still does. The last I heard, they're still married, and Glenn is receiving treatment and taking antipsychotic drugs. I still feel ashamed that I was so dumb to trust him, not wanting to hurt his feelings. I feel guilty for not stopping this early on. Maybe if it weren't for me, none of this would have happened. Or maybe Glenn would have eventually snapped in some other way since he was probably unstable to begin with. Who knows? I've since promised myself that I will always listen to my gut, and that I would never get myself into a situation like this again. I still never open my blinds, and I check the lot behind my apartment every night, just in case. This happened when I was 11, and my brothers and I had not long prior started at a new school. 3 days a week, Mom would drop us off, and the other 2 we caught a bus. This day, Mom dropped us off. As soon as she pulled up, I spotted a man standing at the only gate into the school. Apparently no one thought this was creepy. I begged Mom to drop us off at the back, but she was late for work and wouldn't listen. I waited for Mom to drive off, and I told my brothers, 9 and 6, to do exactly what I said without question. They nodded, and we went towards the gate. I placed myself between the man and my brothers, making sure that I got a good look at him. He was 6 foot, dark brown hair, tattoo sleeve down his right arm, and wearing a black skin-tight t-shirt and camo shorts. As we walked past him, I noticed something that made my heart skip a beat. In his hand closest to the school gate was a pocket knife that he was flicking in and out. At this point, priority number 1 was to get my brothers somewhere safe. I made them walk quickly in front of me to the library and told them not to leave the library until I came back to get them. I then made my way back to the office through the staff room. My teacher, Mrs. Muddle, stopped me and tried to make me go back to the front of the school to get to the office. I looked at her and said, "There's a man in the front of the school with a knife." She could see I was serious and let me through. The office lady called the cops, and they were quick to show up and arrest the guy. Lunchtime that same day, I was called to the principal's office. Before I could ask what I had done this time, I was always getting into trouble. I was pulled into a hug by some random lady who wouldn't stop thanking me for saving her son's life. It turns out the guy was a father of one of the students who was physically abusing the kid and his mother. When she decided to leave him and stop him from seeing his son, he decided he would kidnap and kill the boy, because as he saw it, if he couldn't have him, no one would. Before I start this story, I feel like I should say that this is 100% true, as unbelievable as it is. I live in Canada, but a really bad part on the west coast, where there are a lot of crack dealers and a ton of crackheads. This story is about a crackhead. I was with my friend at about 3 a.m. We were getting tired, and he had decided to stay the night at my place, so we headed back to his place to get some zigzags, weed, chips, and whatever stoners need to get by after a long hard day of smoking weed and eating chips. I live in a duplex, and my friend lives in a public housing project, so we both live around a lot of crackheads. After our trip to his place, we returned to my house and made our way to the back door, because the front door is boarded up. We were walking up the stairs when he realized he forgot his clothes, so we had to head back and get them. As we were walking back, we heard this strange cackling, like something straight out of a fucking horror movie. I pulled out my knife and I held it in a death grip, my friend doing the same. We entered the projects, passing by the spiked security fence that surrounds it, and were almost at the doorway to get into my friend's building when we heard something that turned my friend, who was black, as pale as a ghost. "You can't run." Suddenly, 2 people booked it past us, so we immediately rushed inside. My friend grabbed his clothes, his fully loaded Glock 19, and we ran outside looking to see if we could help the guy being chased, while we made our way back to my house. We were sprinting towards the entrance to the projects when we saw something that to this day I go to therapy over. The spiked fence around the projects had punctured through the bottom of a tweaker's jaw, exiting out his mouth. The thing that makes it even more terrifying was that there was another tweaker sitting there looking at him, smiling, and eating from a bag of ketchup chips. My friend and I booked it the last 6 blocks to my place, locked the back door, and made sure that the front door was still boarded up properly. I assumed someone called the police, and they found the body of the crackhead still on the fence. I have not found out any more details, but I can say that to this day, I'll never eat ketchup chips again. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. If you would like a chance to have your story featured in an upcoming video, make sure you check the description for information on how to submit your stories. I hope you're all having a wonderful weekend, and I'll catch you in the next video. And just remember, it's always scarier if it's true.